Have you ever just walked away from a conversation feeling totally bewildered? Like you started out having a completely normal, respectful discussion, and somehow within minutes, you're fiercely defending this terrible opinion that you don't even hold. Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to break down the anatomy of a very specific, deeply frustrating type of misunderstanding. Look, I totally get that relatable frustration of being unfairly judged in an argument. We've all been backed into a corner feeling like our perfectly innocent intentions were painted as something malicious. So let's unmask exactly how that happens.
It's a really painful question, isn't it? And when this happens to you repeatedly, you might actually start to internalize it. Maybe you've even asked yourself this exact question late at night. Why do people have such a bad opinion of me? You end up feeling like the absolute villain in someone else's story, despite having completely innocent, well-meaning intentions. You suggest a tiny change, you offer a super mild opinion, and suddenly the person you're talking to is reacting as if you've insulted their entire worldview. It leaves you feeling so isolated. But here's the thing. The problem isn't your personality. You aren't a terrible communicator. The real culprit is actually a highly manipulative and, honestly, sometimes unconscious conversational tactic being used against you.
That true culprit is the straw man fallacy, or as it's sometimes incredibly accurately called, the hollow man. And that name perfectly captures the essence of the trick. It's the logical fallacy of distorting an opposing stance in order to make it way easier to attack and defeat. Think about it literally like a scarecrow standing in a field. From a distance, sure, a scarecrow might roughly look like a human, but it has absolutely no substance. It can't fight back, it can't argue, and it takes literally zero skill to just push it over. When someone uses a straw man against you, they're taking your solid, nuanced argument, twisting it into this flimsy, ridiculous, exaggerated scarecrow version of what you actually said, and then aggressively attacking that fake version. So they get to look like they won the argument, while you are left completely stunned, holding the bag for an opinion you never actually had.
Section 1. Explain to me. Give an example. The illusion, real words versus twisted echoes. Let's dive into exactly how this fallacy operates out in the real world. Okay, let's look at a classic everyday scenario. Imagine you make a perfectly reasonable, innocent statement. You say something like, I prefer we spend less on dining out. Maybe you're trying to save up for a vacation, or, maybe you just want to stick to a household budget. It's practical, it's mild, but then the twisted echo comes back at you as, oh, so you hate fun and want us to be miserable? Do you see what just happened there? The person you're talking to completely ignored your actual point about budgeting. Instead, they took your simple preference, stretched it to an absolute ridiculous extreme, and attached this really heavy emotional accusation to it. Now, instead of having a rational, calm discussion about finances, you are suddenly forced to defend your capacity for joy. You have to scramble and say, no, I don't hate fun, and boom, you have completely lost control of the conversation. They're attacking the straw man, and you're just frantically trying to defend it. Let's see how this plays out in a professional setting too. You suggest, I think we should update this project's timeline. This is standard, constructive feedback, right? It happens in meetings literally every single day. But your opponent replies, so you're saying my original plan was a complete failure? And this brilliantly illustrates that hollow man aspect we talked about. Notice how they aren't fighting your actual idea about adjusting the dates. Instead, they constructed a fragile, highly defensive, completely fake version of your intent, the idea that you're calling them a failure, just so they can knock it down and play the victim. It requires absolutely zero effort for them to be offended by a fake insult they just invented themselves while completely avoiding the real work of discussing the actual project timeline. Before we move on to how you can actively defend yourself against these conversational traps, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this, I want to take a really quick pause. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, and if these examples are making you realize exactly what's been happening in your own arguments, I'd absolutely love for you to support this analysis. Please take just a second to hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me about a time someone used a straw man on you, subscribe to the channel, and support our future breakdowns. Engaging with this explainer right now really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives into human psychology and communication. Okay, let's get back to the defense strategy. Section 2. When the argument, the straw man. Defensive tactics. Let's shift gears toward empowerment, so you'll be ready the next time someone tries to build a scarecrow out of your words. So here is your 3-step survival guide to shut this down. Step 1. Recognize the distortion. This has to happen in real time in your brain. When they say, so you hate fun, you mentally flag it. Ah, okay, that's a straw man. Taking that tiny mental pause actually stops your emotional reaction from taking over. Step 2. Refuse to defend the fake argument.
This is absolutely crucial. Do not say, "I don't hate fun." Actually, scratch that, don't even engage with the premise. The very moment you start defending the straw man, you validate its existence. You literally give it life. So just let it sit there as the empty scarecrow it is. Step 3. Redirect the focus back to your original statement. You just calmly say, "That's not what I said. What I actually said was I prefer we spend less on dining out. Are you open to discussing the budget?" You forcefully, but politely, drag the conversation right away from their fake argument and firmly back to your solid original point. You disarm them by simply refusing to play their game.
Now, defeating the straw man feels pretty great once you know how to do it, because you quickly realize their argument is just entirely made up. But I want to leave you with a slightly more provocative thought here. What if they use your exact words against you? Think about it. The straw man relies on fiction, on exaggeration. But there is another, much more insidious communicative trap out there. What happens when your opponent doesn't invent a fake argument, but instead surgically extracts one tiny real thing you said, strips it of all its context, and uses your own factual words to completely destroy your reputation? Well, that terrifying tactic is known as cherry picking, and it is exactly what we are going to tackle in our next analysis. If you want to completely bulletproof your debate skills and make sure no one can ever manipulate your communication again, you definitely won't want to miss it. In our next breakdown, we will cover exactly how they extract your words to win the argument, featuring 3 very powerful real-world examples. Until then, keep practicing your strawman defenses and ask yourself, are you ready to see how your own facts can be weaponized against you?